Hey guys, welcome to episode 4. We're talking Alien Covenant. This is the beginning of our Alien series for the podcast. We also talk about Guillermo del Toro's upcoming film, The Shape of Water, and we talk a little bit about a book called Beasts of Burden. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your doom.
Welcome to your doom.
Hi everyone, this is Atul.
This is Justin.
And welcome to your Doom. We are going to be talking a little Alien Covenant today. Well, before we get into that, there was I did want to talk quickly about... we didn't get a chance to talk about this in our SDCC episode, so I don't think it was actually necessarily released.
I think it came out just before.
Yeah.
A few days before
it must have.
The actual
yeah.
con kicked.
Yeah. The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro's new movie, the trailer came out, and it was a teaser trailer, and it was fucking fantastic. I'm just really excited about this movie. The creature effect, like honestly, del Toro's complete dedication to always doing physical effects for creatures is just, it's incredible because the results are so amazing looking, and this merman, I guess, is what it is. It's like a
Abe Sapien's father.
Yeah,
his long lost brother.
This is basically Abe Sapien, the movie.
Are we sure it's a male? A merman?
No, yeah, we don't know.
Maybe she's
maybe it's a dude.
fancying
maybe
the young
it's
ladies.
A girl. Yeah, that's true.
Hey man, it's 2017.
Maybe it's like androgynous.
That's, I don't know what that word means.
I think that word means sexless.
Sexless.
Hang on, androgynous. That is not how you spell it, but close enough. Partly male and partly female in appearance, of indeterminate sex.
All right. Well, now I've learned something.
Yeah.
My grammar is for shit.
That is right.
That is correct, sir.
Basically, it's Tilda Swinton. So I think it looks great. What do you think?
I thought it was good. It really was it was interesting because it's basically like a monster romance movie, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's exactly what I want to see. What I wanted to see him make, like something a little more direct like that. Even his last film, Crimson Peak, I absolutely loved that movie. It looked great. I don't think it, from a plotting standpoint, I don't think it's not introducing any wild new ideas.
No.
But the execution, I thought, was just fantastic. It's an incredible looking movie, and he's carrying it again into that gothic romance. Well, this is more of a science fiction-y sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
But always giving the monster a personality, and the monster has meaning. The monster is not necessarily the bad guy, and that's not something that's new. Mm-hmm. I just think del Toro has such a dedication for creating stories that fully flesh out the other, whoever the other is.
Yeah.
John Carpenter, famous, he always, I don't know if you've seen these in his interviews, but he's always talks about the other. In his films, he's that's what's terrifying, right? And I think del Toro basically takes the other, and fleshes them out as a full-on character.
Right, yeah.
And
then you got Michael Shannon in the background just screaming at everybody. He's got a good scream. That guy.
I will find him. You know what? I haven't seen Man of Steel in a little while, but I remember in the theater with that scene, I was terrified.
He was pissed. But then I'd be upset.
He was terrifying in that scene.
Well, he's about to get wrapped into a big giant space dong and shot off into infinity.
Yeah,
I'd be a little upset too. Yeah. I remember watching that scene in the theaters. I was like, who the fuck greenlit this? Who was like Zach? Good call on the space penises. That's good.
Oh yeah, no, it's very weird that all of the ships look like giant flying members.
And I know,
folks that worked at what's it called? Oh my God, New Zealand. Lord
of
the Rings.
Peter Jackson's studio.
Yeah. How am I blanking?
I can't remember.
It's it's gonna drive me nuts. Anyways, they famously, all the artists Weta. They were calling it the space penises, or they had another word, but it was
Weta, the people working on it were calling it the space dicks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they and it wasn't just that. There were all kind of phallic-looking things throughout Krypton, and everybody was like, "Yeah, let's see how many dongs we can put into this scene." It's absolutely true.
That is brutal.
Yep.
Anyways, but
it was known.
Michael Shannon really sold that role, and I do feel like he gets pigeonholed into being like in a villain type role. And there was a movie that I wanted to see, and I have on Blu-ray, and I just haven't watched it yet, The Midnight Special, where he's not playing a villain, and I'm kind of excited to see what Michael Shannon's like when he's not playing a villain. But this one definitely looks like he's playing like the sort of textbook villain here.
Yeah.
I hope there's a little more to it, because I think Michael Shannon's a fabulous actor. But Del Toro's always been very visual. Like, everything is very visual. Nothing is too complicated in his stories. Like, nothing gets complicated. It all gets fleshed out. So anyway, just talking about the trailer specifically, when you see the creature and it blinks, it comes out of the water, the colors, like the black and the charcoal and the bright like blue design on, it's gorgeous. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it's Buddy in the suit, same guy,
Doug Jones.
Yeah, Doug Jones, who played Abe Sapien. I recently watched a movie called. Oh my God, I can't remember the name. 2 movies were filmed at the same time. One was Priest,
yeah,
and the other was why can't I think of the name? Legion, yeah. So these 2 movies were filmed at the same time with Paul Bettany, and I think it was the same director, and they're both not very good. But I recently saw Legion, and Doug Jones is in it. He's as himself, but he comes out as this. But he changes, and he comes out as this ice cream truck driver, and he comes out, and his like arms get really, really long, and his jaw like extends, and he starts like, ow, he starts like galloping like on all fours, basically. So like they definitely play up his like he's so skinny and looks strange looking. But no, it looks great. Very a very colorful. Richard Jenkins is in it.
Yep,
and he's great. I fucking love that guy.
I love me some Richard Jenkins.
Richard Jenkins in Cabin in the Woods. Richard Jenkins, I feel like almost an Oscar-worthy performance in Bone Tomahawk.
Yes,
he's amazing in that, and then now in this, oh man, he's great. So I'm really excited about the movie. I think it looks great.
I like the digital makeup approach that Del Toro takes with some of this stuff too.
Yeah,
because when you were mentioning like he's hell bent on doing the practical effects for all his monsters in the film.
Yes,
I remember we were watching I think it was the making of Crimson Peak, where he's basically those ghosts in the hallway, right? And the performances are there. Yeah. But they just add it's not like an Andy Serkis thing where, I mean, Andy Serkis, good actor, but he's like
Oscar. Wholesale replacement.
It is.
You mean, but you were going to say
well, basically what I'm saying is like the amount of work, he undersells the amount of work that digital artists do for his performance. Granted, it's there and they have a lot, it gives the artists a hell of a lot to work with and a very good baseline.
Yeah.
But to make it look as good as it is, fuck you, Andy Serkis. You're not doing that part. You're putting in a really good performance. You're putting in a good baseline for them.
Yes.
But like Doug Jones is doing it, and that is not a full sale replacement. They're augmenting it to some degree.
Yes.
But like he's still there. You can still see the tweaking of the body and stuff like that.
Absolutely, I agree. I generally think Andy Serkis has his performance, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I feel there's so much technical. There are so many technical layers, and all of these people working on it are all equally creative. And every layer, those thousands of hours that people are putting in, different people are putting into this performance, everyone is putting in a little piece of their own take.
100%.
And I think that all of that adds up into a performance that's fantastic with an incredible baseline, right? the same could be said about physical stuff because the makeup effects people.
That's a very good
are
point,
like
yeah.
are the digital I would say the equivalent of the digital makeup folks.
That's a very good point. Yes, because a lot of what's Doug Jones's performances, like you said, are based on he's in a suit of some sort.
And he's covered head to toe.
His performance is fantastic, but the makeup being as good as it is, speaks a lot to it. He was the lead gentleman in an episode in Buffy the Vampire Slayer called Hush.
The top hat.
They didn't have to. Yeah, well, basically, they were in like full suits and they just kind of floated around.
The smiling.
The huge smiles.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen.
I know,
and he crushed it.
That's great.
But that was very simple makeup. Where instead now you're looking at some of the stuff he's doing either as Abe Sapien, which was a pretty subdued performance when he was in the suit. It wasn't digital effects.
It was great.
But then like some of the body contortion he was doing in that hallway scene where he was one of the ghosts in Crimson Peak and he was coming towards.
Oh god,
it looked super creepy. I was convinced it was completely digital, and like when they were showing the making of, it wasn't at all. It was just there was the smoky wisps and stuff. Really. And I think some coloring effects.
They did coloring, and I think they did a bunch of layering and like to make them translucent and stuff. But the performance is still
still completely there.
It's still 100% physical.
Yeah,
like meaning it's tangible.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no, amazing. And you reminded me that explicitly another time he's done that, the digital editions, is Wink in Hellboy 2.
Oh, with the arm.
With the arm.
Yeah.
The arm was practical.
Yeah.
But not in every scene. But the face.
Yeah.
To make the face a little more lively, they actually digitally manipulated the face to make it a little more organic.
Yeah.
Same thing with Samael, the Hound of...
The Desolate one.
The Desolate one, yeah, the from Hellboy 1. And then even right back to Blade 2, the Reapers with the mandibles opening, still using a physical performance, just augmenting it. And he's done a great job merging the two. And I can't wait for this because this looks great.
I hope so.
Yeah, you know what? That's really all. I think that's really all I want to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it short today because basically this is the first of 6 episodes, I guess. Or are we gonna go to 8? Are we gonna do AVPs?
Let's leave those out. You want to leave those? Let's leave those out
because who wants to talk about that?
I mean, no, there's stuff to talk.
You know what? We could do an episode of both of those movies because I'm pretty sure we can cover both of them pretty quick.
Sure.
But anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk Alien, the whole series right now, kind of as a, I guess, retrospect or whatever you want to call it. It's still going on technically, so it's not really retrospective.
Sure.
But anyways, we're going to start with Covenant, and then we're going to go back to Prometheus, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Why? Because I think that it seems like we've got a lot of more polarizing views of these ones, so I think they'll make for pretty interesting podcasts. Yeah. Whereas, 1 and 2 is just going to be basically us circle jerking for the next hour.
Yeah. So it's going to be a praise fest for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, so this is the first in that series, and it's the most recent. And oddly enough, Ridley Scott, we're basically going to start with Ridley Scott, and then we're going to end with Ridley Scott. They basically bookending the entire series. So, I think without further ado, we should get into this boss battle. This is Alien Covenant. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Atul.
Blow my flute. I'll do the fingering.
I don't know how to respond to what you just said. Oh my god.
So this movie opens...
You need to clear this shit with me before you say it. We don't rehearse any of this. So. Alright, go ahead.
The movie opens with a giant ship.
Ironically, called the Covenant.
Yes, yeah. I think a lot of Ridley Scott's movies open with giant ships, and super ornately designed. Ridley Scott does not mess around when it comes to spacefaring vessels. This man designs the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
So a very ornately designed ship, and basically we have a bunch of colonists that are looking to colonize a planet, and things go wrong, as they tend to do in any of these movies. And basically they end up on a different planet investigating a distress signal. If any of this is sounding familiar, is because it is exactly the same as some of the previous films. And basically shit just goes downhill. We've got androids, we've got aliens, we've got albino aliens. We've got the works. We've got I think the movie is basically a split between Prometheus and Alien. I think it's the halfway point where it's still got big ideas, but they're not so operatic and they're not the primary focus of the film. Because basically, I think a lot of people felt Prometheus was a very like a philosophical science fiction film, basically.
Yeah.
But so philosophical that it actually didn't. There was not it felt like there wasn't enough meat.
Yeah.
There to be a thrill ride, to be like a terrifying experience.
Yeah.
So I think they basically cut the difference. They say, I want to have big ideas, but I also want to be a very effective science fiction horror film.
Prometheus asked a lot of questions and didn't answer any of them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what left people being like, well, what did I just watch? What was the point?
Yes.
So whereas this one does ask some questions and does give some answers. It delivers on that front.
So I mean, I liked it.
What about performance-wise? Like, who do you think really stood out from a performance standpoint?
Oh, I think the real standout here is
Fassbender?
Fassbender, obviously, but the standout in my eyes, where I'm like, because I know Fassbender is going to be good.
Yeah.
Was Tennessee. That's his name. Danny McBride.
Yeah.
I was actually very impressed with him. I took him 100% seriously. He took the role 100% seriously, and this is a grim movie. I think that's one thing that people need to understand is that Prometheus wasn't even that grim. I think this is like a black hole of grim, dark science fiction, and if you're not ready for how kind of bleak the film is, it can definitely be a downer. The whole thing is a bit of a downer.
Yeah, I can see that. Fassbender, like you said, puts in a great performance, but I do agree with you. McBride crushed it. You believe, he's going through, we're not going to get into the specifics right now, but you believe the genuine emotion that he feels throughout the film.
Yeah.
Shit is not going well for him all the time.
Yes.
But when things are going well, you can see him. You can see the general happiness.
Yeah.
He hit a lot of different notes, and you cast a guy like Danny McBride, thinking it's going to be kind of a joke fest, comedy fest.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not at all. He hits all of the emotional notes that he needs to throughout the film. He delivers 100%.
Yeah. No, he does. The other there are a lot of folks in this movie. There are a lot of characters.
Yes.
There's a high density of characters, and you don't really get to. A lot of them are just fodder. You don't really get to know them. Especially the soldiers.
The soldiers are just
interchangeable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which kind of sucks. But I feel like they did that on purpose so they could have some bodies to drop in this film.
Yeah.
I was about to say Jim Caviezel. It's not Jim Caviezel.
What character?
The captain.
Billy Crudup.
Crudup, yeah.
Billy
Crudup. I think I like him generally. I think he did a good job here in this role. The characters do some stupid shit, but I think that the stupid shit that they do in this movie is way more believable than the inane stuff that some of the characters do in Prometheus.
Yeah.
Just doesn't obviously, I mean, that's been talked to death. There are memes, there are entire there's college humor skits about how ridiculous these characters are. We don't have to get into it. Everybody knows, but I feel like in this film, they don't do anything nearly that ridiculous that takes you out of the movie. And I feel like that was a complaint that they were like, okay, we need to review this script and make sure that nobody does anything really indefensible.
Oh, we'll talk about that, sir.
Sure, yeah.
Anyways, what else? But yeah, his performance. Again, we're going to get into the specifics about some of the dumb stuff he does, but at the same time, he's believable as a human being.
Yes. I think that was the key for him.
Yeah, he starts off basically not trusted, but not being liked by the crew.
Yeah, and it felt very natural.
It did.
It was
that
great.
I will give into for his performances. He made it believable that he was essentially doing things somewhat out of peer pressure.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll get into that some more.
Yeah.
The look of the film was great.
Oh, beautiful.
Everything, a lot of the sets that they were on, the ship itself looked beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful,
At the beginning, when they basically before things really kick off, there's a solar absorption cycle, and the sails all just kind of spread out, and it looks really good. Really good design. The Acropolis later on in the film looks really good. Everything.
Yeah, it looks
it's
great.
a great looking film.
I was a little bummed about I mean, we were just talking about Del Toro and his focus on physical effects. The sets in this movie are jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
They are jaw-dropping, but all of the organic alien stuff, I feel like a lot of it was CG, not enough of it. Like, I think historically, and we'll get into this when we do our retrospective, but more and more, historically, Alien has always been, they've always had that component.
Yeah.
And I think that's a torch that should be carried by that series. Or, this series should. This movie drops it almost entirely. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I saw very much very many physical effects in the film. I think maybe some of the attack sequences for the neomorph, the albino thing. Maybe some of the close-ups they had physical stuff, but by and large the thing was all of it was CG. Not to say it looked bad. It did look quite good, and everything with CG, one thing that you can do, and I think it does strain believability only because you don't normally see it with man in a suit, but what you can do with CG is that things can move dangerously fast.
Things can move dangerously fast, and if they're not humanoid, you can get away with it a lot easier.
Yes. So. And it's that speed that can be terrifying, and I think they fucking amped it up in terms of just frenetic, kinetic. I'm not trying to rhyme these things. I'm trying to think of the right word. Filming of these aliens. They were fast and they were brutal, and it's obviously different than the slower pace of the earlier films where the aliens were confined to how fast a human being in a rubber suit can move.
Right. Exactly.
There's speed ramping and all of that stuff. And they do a lot of that speed ramping stuff in the older films. But this one, they're lightning fast and just really, really aggressive, killing machines.
Which in my head is how they would move. Like when I'm reading a comic book, an Aliens comic book, or reading an Aliens novel, that's what I'm thinking they move like bugs, essentially, giant bugs.
Yeah, giant bugs. Yeah, which makes sense. And I think they capture that really well. It's just, I'm always partial to the physical effects that adds this concrete believability. Yeah. And I think they lost that in this movie. Yeah. Everything seems to be flying off the handle. It's like an alien from the first film, did it a mountain of cocaine and then they shot it. And that's what this thing moves like. It's just it's literally bouncing off the walls in some scenes, right? So,
which I don't mind for some of it, but like you said, they overused it a little bit.
I think they ramped it. They amped it up to 11, and I think it works most of the time. But some of the time, I'm just
let's calm down and
let's slow it down.
Quick peek at what the alien looks like.
Yeah, let's add a little weight to this character, right? Yeah. Where instead of having them bounce off the walls all the time, and let's stop and take a moment. This thing is a living, breathing thing that has mass. Let's address that fact. Anyway, not to say it was bad, but like I said, it's something I miss, and I think that not having that did hurt the film a little bit.
Do you think these old time, because Ridley Scott's been doing this for
he's 70.
Yeah, he's not a young dude.
74 or something. No.
Do you think that more of these older filmmakers are using CG even more now because they weren't able to do it back in the day? Back in the day, maybe that was his vision of how the alien moves. Yeah, and now he's got the CG to be able to do it, and he just wants to do that. You know what I mean? So maybe for us, it's kind of a really neat thing being cinema buffs that we see more practical effects and we think that it's more believable. But maybe him in his head, he's like, I want to make this film and I want it to move the way I had it envisioned back in 79?
Yeah.
Or 70 something. Mid-70s, I think. But, that's, I wonder if that's the way, look at Lucas with the Star Wars prequels. He's got all this shit in his head and he's like, now I can make it on the screen with CG. And it's like, well, wait, the technology's not quite there yet.
What you're, Dr. Ian Malcolm, standard line, so preoccupied with whether or not they can do it, they never stop to think about whether they should, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, I think, I think that a lot of folks would go and revisit their families. Spielberg did it with E.T. I don't know if you ever saw that E.T. special edition. There's like a scary scene in there with him in the bathtub, and he's completely CG.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and it's just like a really strange...
I haven't seen E.T. in years.
Really? Yeah.
Ironic how we go to E.T. We'll talk
that's
about
right.
Alien Covenant.
That's right, yeah. So even like great established directors they're not immune to this whole idea of revisiting your movie with new technology.
Yeah.
Do I think that's how I'm just guessing? Do I think that's how Ridley Scott had pictured it in his head in Alien? No, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think that your technology for the time does govern a lot of how you think this movie is going to turn out.
Yeah.
Because you basically ditch ideas when you know you can't do them, I think, a lot of the time. And I think that's what makes Alien such a successful film, is because he's working within constraints. When you take the constraints away, I mean, Jaws is a great example, right? Steven Spielberg's original opening for Jaws was the woman getting attacked in the water at night, and the shark was actually, so there's storyboards for the shark was supposed to just jump like out of the water, basically, and eat her, with her in the mouth, and just like go back in. It's supposed to be this spectacular opening for like a monster movie, blockbuster monster movie. They couldn't do it. They literally couldn't do it. And what they ended up filming was 1 trillion times better. Mm-hmm. And so sorry, back to your question. Do I think that he envisioned it that way originally? I don't think so. I think with time, and he's always been on the bleeding edge of technology. Yeah, like he's been his films always look spectacular, right? Regardless of how you feel about the film itself, the films look incredible. Anyway, I think that they overdid it.
Yeah,
I think he overdid it a little bit, and not a game changer.
It was. I mean, that is how I picture them moving in my head, and I don't mind seeing that. I think that they pushed it more than they had in any of the other films. I mean, even the AVP films, it was still pretty man and suity.
That's really great. That's what I loved about those movies. I loved the fact they used man in suit, and they made a point to say this is a physical effects movie. Right. Yeah. And I mean, you can talk as much shit about those movies as you want, but I think that those movies have great physical effects.
They did some things well. I will say that. There were some entertaining points. But anyways, do you want to pop into the bonus round now? And then we'll go right into
the so general feelings about the movie. We never really said. I said true. I liked it. Yeah, but
I didn't. I'll be blunt. I didn't. I think this suffered a lot from a lot of the problems that I had with Prometheus. I think, like I said, there are good things in there. There's a lot of really cool ideas, and I think it raises some questions about existence and what's the point of life and whatnot.
Asks big questions.
It asks big questions, or it kind of repeats some of the questions that Prometheus did, but it kind of had some sort of an answer to it.
Yeah, that's right.
So there definitely is something there. There's some interesting points, but to me, the movie sets itself up and completely backpedals on a lot of the shit that it sets up at the beginning for the characters. So
interesting.
Is it as bad as Prometheus in terms of that? No, not at all.
Did you like Prometheus?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Did you like this one less or more? Or?
I don't know, to be honest. Prometheus I have kind of the same feel about. General stupidity leads to a lot of these situations, but overall it asks some pretty cool questions. I don't know if I like the look of this film better or the look of Prometheus better.
Interesting.
Like the ship that they were based on for most of Prometheus.
Yeah.
I liked the way it looked and
very cool.
Yeah,
very,
just
very
really,
good
and it was very unique.
Yeah.
This one, like you said before, a very grim film, and the sets kind of reflect that grimness. They're beautiful in a sense. But I don't know. I think that I kind of liked the little bit of more upbeatness of Prometheus a little bit more. But honestly, it's hard if it's this hard for me to say I liked one more than the other.
Yeah, you're probably
they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Are they horrible movies? No. Do I think they're worth a watch? Yeah, I do. I do think that anybody that has any inkling or interest in this series should see it and form their own opinion.
Yep.
For me, I can't forgive what I would call lazy filmmaking, and I think that. Or sorry, not lazy filmmaking, lazy writing.
Oh, okay.
And I think that this movie gets to that. Okay. You know, it sets itself up lazily is the way I look at it.
Interesting. So. I don't know. I personally, I thought this was the best way to tell this story. and split the difference between Prometheus and Alien. I thought it was like a great way to keep the big ideas. Like I said, like when we talked about Prometheus asking a lot of questions and not answering anything.
Yeah.
I think in this movie they're like, okay, people need like some kind of closure. It's just like this stuff like wide open. Expect people to expect people to enjoy it. I think that it does. Being forced to answer some of those questions puts you in a tough spot because these are big questions. Right. And but I think it handles it. I think it's the best possible way to handle some of these big questions. Yep. And we'll get to some of those in the spoilers.
Sure.
But yeah. So you didn't like it. I liked it. I liked it probably more than Prometheus. Mm-hmm. I liked Prometheus. I can compartmentalize my feelings about film. So if the characters are doing stupid shit, I just kind of still put that in a box and kind of like put it off to the side. I'm like, okay, characters are doing stupid shit. Let's. Well, how do I feel about the rest of the movie?
Yeah,
I can do that. With this movie, I didn't have to compartmentalize too much. I thought that. So your issue is actually kind of with the writing or like the actual plot of the film.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
Acting wise,
good performances, good look of film, good lighting, good everything. The creature effects looked pretty good. Everything about the film was good. It's just, to me, the plot, how they set up the plot, just to me was cheap.
The interactions between Walter and David, that is a huge like central point of the film. And we'll get into more. Obviously, we'll get more with spoilers, but I think that was handled really well. I thought that dialogue between them was handled well.
Okay,
and you do not.
Well, no. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just go into the spoilers so we can really talk about that proper.
Sure. All right. So why don't we do this? Let's wrap it up. In terms of the non-spoiler section, we'll jump into the bonus round. So bonus round today. I was going to take this one on. This is not related to. This is not Alien related. But there's a comic I was reading. It was a hardcover book I got from the library called Beasts of Burden, Animal Rites. That's what it's called. It's written by Evan Dorkin and drawn by Jill Thompson. And guys, this is like the sweet spot of like horror books for me. I think it's an oversized hardcover. It's beautifully drawn, but it's anthropomorphic. Basically talking animals. They're all dogs, or dogs, cats, whatever. But it's a horror book based on these group of animals that are essentially protecting this neighborhood from supernatural goings-ons, right? And it sounds kind of hokey, but it is written really, really well. And it's a series of short stories that mildly connect to each other. The art is absolutely gorgeous, and it's a hard R. This is an R-rated book, let's say. There is some, like just reading some stuff from here. The black magic, demonic frogs, zombie roadkill are just some of the problems that these animals deal with. They all have very distinct personalities. And it's got a lot of atmosphere. It's a great read. It cuts that. I love the anthropomorphic stuff, like the Mice Templar is something I love, and like the Mouse Guard is another thing I love, and another book called Black Sad. I think that this book is right up there with those, and like the horror aspect of this is so well executed. The ideas they're unique, and they're hard hitting, and they're short stories, and in those 15, 20 pages per story, they're able to pull you in and tell you a story that's very, very unique. And it's also a lot of world building going on. So like really enjoyed it. And I think more people should read it. I don't think a lot of people know about this book. And basically and I think more people should read it. Like I gave it it's on my Goodreads. I gave it a 5-star rating. I love that book. I got it from the library. I think I'm actually going to go out and buy a copy because I could see myself rereading that, especially like in the fall season. I think this is a great sort of October read.
I'm going to give it a read. I'm actually just looking. It won quite a few awards as well.
Yeah, I think so,
It
yes.
won 5 Eisners, a National Cartoonist Society,
Right.
and a Harvey Award for Best Graphic Album Previously Published.
Right, so actually I think the deal here is that there are multiple stories here that were published in other works. They were either published independently, or they were published as a part of collections of other, I guess, horror anthologies. This Beasts of Burden Animal Rights graphic novel is a collection of all of those stories. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they have a crossover.
With what?
I'm just gonna look it up right now. I'm pretty sure. Hellboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hellboy
So they have,
/ Beasts of Burden Sacrifice, October 27, 2010, with Evan Dorkin and Mr. Mignola.
yeah, that's amazing, and I love this cover too. It's great. So yeah, I haven't read that actually.
You know what you're reading.
Now I know what I'm going to be reading next. It's a one shot. It looks like, and
Yeah.
it's like probably like an oversized one shot. So I haven't read that. That's not part of this collection. I don't know if they're writing any more of these, and I really hope they are. There's a lot of buzz around them and around these stories. Like I said, really well executed, really well written, great atmosphere. It gets that. It's got that Goonies. It's got that Amblin Entertainment feel.
Oh, neat.
Like
Okay.
but with the hard R rating.
The hardest of ours.
Hardest of ours. Yeah, because there's shit that happens in here where I'm just like, whoa.
I can't read this on a plane.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
What was it? You told me that about, I think, Sandman? Or
No, it was. I was
No,
reading
what was that horror one that you gave me?
the Lovecraftian one. Or,
No, it was a hell. Oh God, what's it called? I'd have to look it up, but it was basically something like, I opened the page and it was just like boobs and ass everywhere. I was like, I can't read this publicly.
Yeah, no. What I was reading was TV Head comic.
What?
There's a dude with a head for a TV. There it is. And Brian K. Vaughan's book. What's it called? Brian K. Vaughan's science fiction book. Anyway, there's a moment in that where there's a dude with a TV for a head. They have a bunch of this race beings, and they have TVs for heads. And there's just like a 2-page splash of like doggy style.
Oh God.
Like straight up. And I'm reading this on a plane on my tablet, and there's like a woman sitting next to me, and I flip to the next page, and it is straight up on all fours getting railed from behind by this dude with a TV for a head.
Wow.
And that was the thing where I immediately closed it. I'm like, Brian K. Vaughan, you motherfucker. You are going to get me into some trouble. It's a great book, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it. I'm going to look it up right now, and it is Saga. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, huge aside and crazy brain fart. But but yes, Beasts of Burden is not like that. It's more like violence. It's
Okay.
like violence against animals, right? And a lot of folks are not going to enjoy that. I think a lot of people are, dog and cat people, and seeing that kind of violence happen rubs people the wrong way, I think. But when it's humans, nobody seems to care. But which is weird. But I'm not I've never had a pet. But so it didn't really bother me, and it's visceral storytelling, but it's got that childlike wonder aspect and the kids on an adventure aspect, similar to like the Amblin sort of Goonies, Sandlot, even the Stephen King stuff, similar vibes. So great book, great art. Guys should go out and get it. Beasts of Burden, Animal Rights, and let's hope they make more, because I'm really love this book. So that's pretty much it.
Well, let's warp back in.
Okay, all right. We are heading back to Covenant for the spoiler edition of our review. So anyway, they, as we mentioned, it opens with the ship flying through space. The solar sails open, and they get hit with some kind of crazy neutrino. What did I say?
You said solar snails.
I did not.
You said solar snails. I will play this shit
Solar
back.
sails. I'm pretty sure I said sails.
But they were really slow.
They were really slow to open and close.
Good lord. You'd think that shit'd be faster in the future. Anyways,
right.
solar snails, continue.
Solar snails. They open up and they get hit with some crazy mumbo-jumbo science fiction neutrino blast thing. I don't know what happens, but basically it disables their ship and wakes a bunch of people up. In
the rudest of fashions.
Yeah, in the rudest of being set on fire.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Played by James Franco, apparently.
Yeah.
That was a misuse of a very talented actor.
I
didn't get it.
That whole thing was just weird and unnecessary. I don't know why that was in there.
I wonder if there's a bunch of deleted scenes or something.
Maybe they have deleted scenes where.
Anyways,
he immediately dies. And everyone's woken up, and I think this is the first scene where I was like really into it, was how natural and how well acted the scene is where Billy Crudup is the second in command, and he's the one that's being like trying to gather everyone and like basically say, okay, we have stuff to do, like we've got to move forward, and the crew just not being into it, not like you're not my captain. Our captain just died, and like I don't trust you. It's not that I don't trust you. It's more of like you're the new guy. Like
yeah.
And on top of that, you're basically saying, okay, like we have work to do. I know this is a sad time, but we need to move on and we need to get stuff done, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we're gonna lose fucking 100 more people. As a captain, I don't think he's making bad decisions. I don't think the things that he's saying are actually. He's not a dislikable character. I find him to be quite likable in a shitty situation, and the atmosphere around that table when they have that meeting, I was like, that was great because that happens at work.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like that happens at work, and it's a real situation that happens. And being a part of that situation, I was just like, this is really well acted. I think this is like really this is a very real reaction to that situation. So that sort of uneasiness, I thought that was played really well.
I mean, it was. My issue with it is that if he's going to be, I don't know, he's a grown-ass man, and he's put into this role, but, like, he was just terrible at it to start.
Really?
Well, okay, so you're right in that shit was going bad and things had to get fixed, sure.
Yeah.
But after that was done, he still wasn't taking any emotion into anything. He was a very robotic kind of character that wasn't really taking into account anything. If you're the new guy, you kind of want to
listen to the people
around you, right? And he wasn't doing any of that.
Yeah.
So right away, it was hard to like the character. Maybe that's the way they wanted to portray him, maybe not. But he was very polarizing to me, and it just didn't seem believable that the character would be so fucking brain dead that he wasn't looking and seeing like, oh, that's why they don't like me, because I'm not taking into account that their good friend just died, their good captain just died. And I'm not really giving them any chance to grieve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they asked him can we get a second to grieve? And he basically said no. Let's get the work.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you know what? It's been a long time since I've seen the film. Like we saw this a long time ago. Yeah. This is a pretty late recording, but I remember thinking that his attitude wasn't 100% unwarranted. The situation that they were in calls for immediate action because it's not just them. Mm. It's this entire thousands of colonists they have sleeping in the back there.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, I can't afford to have you guys sit around and fucking like have a glass of whiskey and like reminisce right now. Mm. I need you guys to get shit done, and we need to ensure that we do not lose anybody else that. So he was very much like a forward thinker. Yeah. Obviously, it's a flaw. Like, he's got a flaw as a leader, but I think it's a believable one. I think it's one that, people have this problem where they don't connect emotionally, and you're not a particularly good leader if you don't have that.
Yeah.
I just think that, I guess what I'm saying is that this whole relationship was real. Like, it felt like something that could happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then him being such a hard ass and not really giving them any second to grieve. I guess later he sees them having some whiskey and then he feels bad. Oh, he feels real bad. He didn't get the invite. He didn't get the evite to go down and have a little shot of Jack.
Yeah.
And then he completely decides to make one of the worst decisions anybody with his fucking background could make. Dude. Okay.
They decide to take they get a distress signal, and they are
It's not a distress signal either.
What is it?
It was just a weird radio transmission.
Oh, but it was a person. Like they heard someone.
They said it was a person. No, it was music. The song. Yeah, the music. And they're like, we should go investigate. But it wasn't a distress call. If it was a distress call.
Oh, okay.
But then again, if it was a distress call, then it's the same plot as Alien, right? So you don't want to do that. Understood. Warranted. But they decide to take their meticulously how many years plan?
Yeah.
Like they spent years and years and years researching just the right place. They knew everything down to the fucking vegetation and the animals that were on the planet. Everything about the planet. They knew it. And they were like, we're going here. But because he felt bad and he wanted to be liked, he's like, oh, I found this. It seems pretty good. The air is breathable. Let's go down, guys. I don't want to get back in the pod. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to get back in the pod. It's okay. Let's go to this other planet that we know fuck all about. No, we don't even need to wear suits. It's fine.
Okay, all right. The suit thing, I think. All right, I'm with you on this decision to go down to the planet. I think there was justification in the film. I can't remember the dialogue exactly, but I remember not being in the theater, just being like, I was
shaking my head the whole time. The whole time. Because they literally said, and the second in command said, this is a fucking bad idea. Why are we doing this?
Because it's shaving like years off of their plan. And it's either they didn't see the planet there before.
Yeah.
Or because I remember these like this planet wasn't here before, or this planet wasn't hospitable before, and now we're doing all the scans and it looks completely hospitable.
I don't know if they even had it on their radar. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was something about it that shaved a ton of time.
Yes, it did shave a ton of time off.
It was a habitable planet.
Yes,
and it looks like somebody might already be there, or there might be an establishment there, or whatever. Right, so. Just from like a business standpoint, like a management standpoint, I don't think he was way off base. I do think it's not a popular decision in veering from a plan as meticulously crafted as you said, like that they had. They probably not the best decision.
Well, here's the thing. So back to the point of it shaving a bunch of years off the journey, right? Before, he was making decisions saying, oh, I've got this huge thing of hundreds of... How many people were on the ship?
Yeah,
colonists? I've got all these colonists on here. We've got to do the best to save all of these guys, right? And then all of a sudden, he's making a snap decision because it shaves off years of their journey, the 13 people that woke up.
Right.
But who gives a fuck? Even if it shaves, 50 years off their journey, it doesn't affect the colonists frozen. They're going to get there and be the exact same people, right? Or do they age in there? I don't think they age in cryosleep.
I don't think they age.
Right? So what I'm saying is he was making all these decisions on their behalf before for the greater good for everybody.
Right.
But now he's taking huge risks just to be popular amongst the 13 people that woke up and take a massive risk to shave some time off their journey.
Right.
Where it looked like they basically could... They fixed all the problems. Everything's looking good. Either a couple people stay awake and have to stick it through the journey for the rest of the time, which sucks, but it is what it is. Or, they all go back into cryosleep and hope for the best.
Right.
But, there were better options than what he chose. And like I said, the second in command basically said that right away. Like, this is a stupid fucking idea.
What about... I feel like somebody mentioned something about another neutrino going off, and if they're all asleep, like this could happen again, like that kind of thing. Like
that's what they were worried about, but it didn't sound like that there was any. It was an anomaly. They said it was an anomaly. Something fucking weird happened, right? Yeah. And did they know whether it was going to go on again? No, they didn't. But it was completely a feasible plan to be able to say, all right, we're going to need at least a couple people not in cryosleep that we need to be able to react to this or keep an eye out for it and do something about it.
Right.
So to me, it didn't make sense. And the thing is that even if they all stayed awake, if it happened again, same shit, right?
Yeah.
The other option is wake up all the colonists, and then if something happens, everybody's awake and nobody's pods. You know what I mean? Like, if you're traveling in space, you got to expect shit could go bad. You can hit an asteroid or something like that, right? Your ship could get fucked up and some people could die. That's an acceptable risk.
Right.
You basically accept that risk going in. So I don't fault the people that woke up and don't want to go back in the pods. That's human emotion, no problem. But some of you got to go back in that pod or stay awake, but we're going to go to this other planet for the greater good of all these other colonists because we know where we're going is a solid choice.
Right.
So.
Right. Anyway, okay, I have got to watch the movie again. I remember not being up in arms about the decision. I remember it being like a wah-wah kind of decision.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, this is fucking stupid.
Oh,
you need to go back PMP course or whatever, and like fucking re-examine your managerial status just because you're making horrible decisions. So anyway, they choose to go and land on this planet and find the source of the transmission.
Correct.
They land on the planet, and yes, they are not wearing full suits. Okay, they do this because the planet is hospitable. It's completely viable for human biology. And I didn't linger too much on that decision. But I know what you would say here, like airborne contagions, like tons of
which proved to be kind of a problem.
Either way, it wouldn't have saved them, right? Because the idea is you know what this movie introduced?
What
was the fact that the sticky black goo from like Prometheus?
Yeah,
it actually has some kind of intelligence. Like they're like nano.
Yeah.
Like they're like nanites.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
It's just like when he steps on, like that soldier steps on the spore and it like spins up and burrows into his ear. If they were wearing suits, they would have burrowed through the suit. Like they would have written. They would have written. No, but they would have written it like that.
Well, okay.
They're nanites.
But in that case,
they're like nano organisms that's self-organized, basically,
sure.
Right? So they're able to find any kind of weakness. So they would have written it that way. It was going to happen, whether they're wearing suits or not. In this case, they weren't wearing suits.
But that's the thing is, if they do that, then there's no ambiguity anymore, right? Because to me, it looked like space dust. Right? It just looked like something they breathed in. I forgot about the ear thing, but still, it's something that enters their orifices in some way. If you're protected with a suit and it's just dust, you're good.
Yeah.
But if you want to go the route of it's going to burrow through the suits,
well it's going to happen. Like when it, and it's interesting because it wasn't just what's interesting about it is that it wasn't just a spore,
right?
Right? Like they went out of their way in the movie to show you that this thing organized into like a thing and flew into this guy's ear.
It was a spore. They had to kick the goddamn.
It was a spore, but it self-organized. Like it wasn't just like he wasn't just breathing in. It self-organized into a thing and flew into his ear, basically, right? So there is some sort of intelligence and some kind of and it But here they wrote it that way.
Yeah.
So I figured that if they wrote it that way, whether they're wearing suits or not, this thing is getting into this guy's ear. There's just no way that we're stopping it.
That's fine. And if they do it that way, I think that it takes away a lot of the questions about it. And then that to me, it's a way better premise. Think of the first Alien, right? The face hugger goes right through the mask, right? He took every single precaution that character should, and it didn't save him.
Except for staring into an egg really fucking close.
Well, I mean, he's got a thing that's giving him this thing of vision, and he has to look in it. He's got to get in, right? Well, not that he has to put his fucking face in it.
Dude, I just want to draw a cartoon where his entire head is inside the egg. It's like, whoa, I don't know if I see anything in here.
Right. But I get that. Like, wearing, I was Batman once for Halloween.
Yeah.
The friggin' mask, you're constantly having to turn your head around, not just because of you can't move your neck, but you can't see, your peripheral vision's all right thing. You get put in one of those suits, you can't really see very well. Yeah. So it makes sense that he does have to bend over
to see, yeah.
But I think they should have done that in this film because it to me it further,
it's like negligence.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Prometheus and those kind of mistakes that these people are qualified they should be qualified at their job. If they're this inept, it's more of a fucking comedy. And this movie is not a comedy.
No, it's not.
Right?
Certainly not.
So, to me, that was the thing that bugged me. So, anyways.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so they land on the planet. You find, it's the whole husband and wife teams. They land on the planet, and, half of them go out to investigate the radio signal.
Yeah.
Sorry, not half. Oh, sorry. A few of them go up the mountain to investigate a radio signal. Two of them go to collect samples. Yeah. And one of the mechanics stays back, the pilot.
Tennessee's wife.
Yeah. She stays back at the ship. Yeah. And and then a bunch of things happen. They're kicking over these plants and shit, and these fucking spores are flying into their body orifices.
Yeah.
And people start getting sick. Immediately. Yeah, so they immediately getting sick, and these guys, two of them get sick in both parties. So the pair that went off to get the samples, she drags him back and he's sick, and she drags him back to the ship, and Tennessee's wife actually, I love these scenes. Mm-hmm. This part of the film is so aggressive in its filming. I fucking love the next like 25 minutes. I think that's just like Ridley Scott in the fucking zone. That is clean, pure, no fat Ridley Scott just being awesome. Mm-hmm. I think that 20 minutes or so, basically with the two neomorphs being born and them getting attacked, was just like pulse pounding. I think it was great action horror filmmaking, because what happens, like, it doesn't let up. Like, it's well acted, it's just people freaking out, but I mean, I think it's like they're very convincing in their freakouts. This whole question of containment and all of that, like, it all comes into play. Like, I think every one of the movies has always touched on quarantine and whether to do it, when to do it, when people, So when they bring this sick guy on board, they put him in the room, and she quarantines them both. Yeah. And the guy starts freaking out, like, he starts, like, convulsing so violently, and I was like, oh, this is so... It's such high energy filmmaking. Like, even the dude is shaking. I'm like, he's like violently. And that scene where they're looking through the porthole, and like he's looking the back, and like the back part. Yeah, it doesn't come out all at once. It kind of like bursts a little bit, and like she gets blood on her. I'm like, holy shit! Like, it's just really just this whole scene is like super energetic and super tense, and then this thing, and then there was a scene where she tries to hug him, like, to calm him down, and he's shaking so violently. I don't know why that one stands out to me. It's just. Can you imagine, like, holding on to someone who's shaking that violently? There's just something about that that's really unsettling. Yeah.
That scene was good. I mean, that whole thing was pretty good. Their containment protocols need work, because the girl that was on the ship, she should have gone in there too, is the way I look at it.
She should have contained herself?
For sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're in contact with them and you're dragging them through the ship, that whole ship is now contaminated in some way.
I think the away ship itself is not meant for containment.
No, exactly.
I think the away ship itself is meant to be contained. Like, if there is some kind of infection, that entire away team is fucked. Yeah. Basically, when you come back to the ship, you're not allowed back on the ship. You stay...
But there's a containment room in there, so there's got to be something.
Yeah, that's like the doctor's office, I guess. But I guess you might be right. Anyway.
To some degree, but I'm not going to harp on that too hard, because I mean, given the scenario in there, they probably broke some containment protocols to some degree, but it was under a lot of duress. So
completely
very unexpected duress. Yeah. That one makes some sense to me.
So then this thing pops up, right? And it's super violent and different, man. I was really happy to see that they did something different. Yeah. I think they actually created an alien that like rivals the original. I love the fact that like it breaks out of the back. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's new. It's pretty much fresh.
Not fully grown, but it's fully.
It's like a dog size, I guess. And looks great. Yeah. This thing pops out of the back and like it attacks the woman. And this attack is like something. Yeah, it's vicious, but it's like something small. So it's not like a one-hit kill. It's not like I'm gonna decapitate you or stick my tongue through your head. This is like a mauling. Yeah. Like it really is. It's like getting mauled by a small, like a lynx or something like that. Like it's like that's what it is. It's brutal.
It is.
For both of them. She fucking gets it a couple of good hits there too. She like kicks it in the face and like it flies across the room and like stuff like. But it's like it's a fight to the death between these two things, or between these two animals, like human and alien. But really well shot, and the girl outside's just freaking out, and I can't remember the exact events that occur, but this thing gets out.
It gets out. The ship blows up because I think she
starts trying to shoot it, and she hits
let's say a gas line.
Yeah, she hits the propane tank truck. Yeah, and this thing goes up goes up in spectacular fashion.
And meanwhile, outside, you've got the other alien that just burst out before they can get to the ship. They see the ship explode.
Yeah.
And now you've got 2 aliens to deal with in that field. And then the 2 aliens I think they picked off at least a couple of the other people in there, but they got one. And that's when David came out, from the original Prometheus film, and saved them in very dramatic fashion. I thought it was a pretty kind of cool way to do it.
Yeah, the flare? Was it the flare?
With the coat on and the overcoat and stuff.
So that scene in the field was amazing too.
Yeah,
like this I guess this takes over like 15 minutes maybe, or maybe less, maybe like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's a great 10 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. A very frenetic, high energy.
Arguably the best 10 minutes in the film for me.
Agreed.
So
I 100% agree.
So anyways, after David finds them, lights up the flare, they decide to trust him, which is, it at that time it makes sense. They just kind of saved him. But then after that, he brings them to, I guess, his home base, which is this Acropolis I mentioned in the past, which, as they're walking through, it's basically a field of mummified dead bodies.
Yeah.
And they get inside, and that's when the reveal happens that it is indeed David, who is the same, not same model, but same
He's the same
appearance.
android. David is the same android from Prometheus.
Oh, yes, from Prometheus,
sorry,
but there's the character Walter.
Well, yeah.
Same look, just I don't think it's the same model.
It's a newer model.
Yeah, newer model.
It's a newer
right?
model. Like Walter is a newer model on that with that look and feel.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got more of a weird Texas, or maybe not Texas,
American.
Whereas some kind of an American accent.
Yeah.
That was off-putting. I didn't like his accent.
I think I liked
not
it because
off-putting, but
I liked it because it was weird.
It was
because it was like really strange.
Yeah. So then they go there, and that's when they decide, well, we need to contact the Covenant and see how we can get back up there because our ship is kaboom.
That's right. Yeah.
And then that's when they break off. Some of them go upstairs to try upstairs, whatever.
Go up the
Just go
second
upstairs.
floor.
So they go upstairs to go and try and get a signal out, while a few of them remain down. The captain's still alive.
Yeah. A couple of the soldiers are alive.
A couple of soldiers are still alive. The main character Daniels is still alive. Yeah. So
then David and Walter have this like conversation, which oddly enough, I feel like their scenes together. I think they have 2 big scenes together. Are like the center points of this film.
Yes.
It's not an action sequence. It is literally a chat between 2 androids, and I found those scenes to be really tense because I was just waiting for David, because basically David's like a sociopath.
Yes.
And I was waiting for him to suddenly just rip fucking Walter's head off, or like something ridiculous. Like,
I was too. The whole time with the flute, I was waiting for him to just shove it through his face. Yeah.
I thought he was gonna shove it up his chin or like through the back of his head or something. I was waiting for that, and I was like the entire time, I'm like, holy shit, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah. And he does do something to that effect, but it happens way later, and it's unexpected. Like I wasn't expecting it.
Right. And that's when they start having those dialogues. I'm trying to remember when it was revealed that he had cut his hair and colored it the exact same way that Walter's was, because he didn't look that way when they found him. He had the long hair.
There's a scene where he cuts his hair.
Yeah, he cut it and then he colored it. They look exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
Here's where another part of my "what the fuck, guys" argument comes into play. But that, you know what? I'll go into what the fuck in a second.
Yeah.
Because then after that, so you have those 2 really great conversation pieces.
Well, I do want to talk quickly about the conversation.
Okay, go
first.
ahead.
Yeah. This whole thing about the flute.
Yes.
Okay. I think it was pretty effective. The idea that they can't create, or the Walter's model cannot create, when David's model didn't have those inhibitions, and the explanations I thought were crisp, clean, and very concrete. Nothing philosophical about this. It was just Walter's like, your model gave people the creeps.
Yeah.
Like, literally he says that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he's like, you fucking weirded people out because you were just so human.
Yeah.
Like, you were so human that they couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So they created me, who's a little more, like, robotic.
Yes.
And I can't create.
Right.
And he's trying to teach him how to play the flute. Basically, he's testing him this whole time, trying to get him to be on his side.
Yeah.
Right? And this scene with the flute, it was a good idea, but that line got laughs.
What was the line?
The one basically, here, don't blow the flute and I'll do the fingering.
Yeah.
This line, an unfortunate choice of words, but I think this whole scene was purposefully erotic. Mm-hmm. It's 100% a weird android sex scene.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that's exactly what Scott was going for.
It was uncomfortable.
It was weird. It was uncomfortable. It was like erotic in like the strangest way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's how it should be. I think, and they've had this running throughout the entire series. Oh, in my entire series, I mean, the first one, when Ash, the way he tries to kill Ripley,
that was
is he takes the roll of paper and he's basically, it's like
trying to asphyxiate.
He's trying to asphyxiate her, but it's a phallic thing.
Yeah.
He's basically like exploring this weird erotic way to kill her with like a phallic symbol, right? Basically, it's android sex, and I saw that in the making of documentary and stuff because I always thought that was weird. Like that's a weird way to dispose of someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? And I'm like, yeah, it is it's off-putting, and it's perfect. It's perfect because it's like
it is unsettling.
It's super unsettling.
That was one thing in the first one that I was just like, what is he doing? Oh my god!
It's just a weird thing, and I remember reading about it and saying that this is purposefully erotic. It's purposefully like an android exploring their weird sort of violent sexuality.
Yeah.
And they continue it in this movie with the flute.
The flute of all flutes.
The flute in the mouth. And so I think it's very uncomfortable. Unfortunately, that line got some laughs, and they should probably change it. I wish they didn't say that because it kind of took me out of the scene. It was a really funny line.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah, no, I thought those conversations were really good. I think they took a chance spending so much time on those conversations, but yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Cool.
There. Yeah.
So the neomorph gets into the Acropolis.
City,
I keep calling it Acropolis. I don't know why.
It looks like one. Honestly, I was kind of taken aback with the amount of like ornate production they did there. Yeah. I was like getting like Batman and Robin like vibes with how ornate like the sets were and stuff, and I'm like, they pushed it far. I wasn't entirely on board with the overproduction, the opulentness of like the whole thing, but I sort of got used to it after a little while. But an Acropolis is not a bad word to use for it.
Thank you. But yeah, so the neomorph gets in there and ends up disposing of the really hot chick.
Oh, dude, she was smoking hot.
But anyways, they
like one-handed like decapitation too.
Yeah,
it was pretty vicious.
It was, and
it's like lands in a pool.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. But anyways. And that's when the captain, the worst captain of all
time.
You're
really trying to skip to these moments. Okay,
buddy.
I agree with you. I think I agree with you.
This is okay. So, and I'm going to get to this. Captain walks in on David, basically about to make out with the neomorph. Right? They're basically really close. He's trying to bond with it.
Yeah.
And the mother, and he shoots the shit out of the neomorph.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
And then he's face to face with David, gun pointed right at him. At this point, David has, saved them, but then brought him through a field of dead bodies to his home, where he lives in the center of said field of dead bodies, with a flimsy explanation as to how that field got there.
Yes.
On top of that, he now looks exactly like Walter. That's kind of a red flag. And he was just basically trying to bond with the creature that was there. At this point, I don't understand why the captain even listened to him. He should have shot him in the face. They already got what they needed to get. Well, they got what they needed to go back up to the ship. They just did away with the neomorph.
Yeah, they're safe.
They're safe, right? And this character is definitely not good. There's a problem with him. Should have shot him in the face.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him. But I would even step before that. Go. Like before that, said hot chick going like, I need to wash up. It's like this isn't. We're not going out. We're not going clubbing.
Right.
Like, we don't need, like, one doesn't need to run off alone and wash up. This isn't a Friday the 13th film. Like, you're not going to take your clothes off and have a shower.
That gave me, I rolled my eyes.
I was just like, come on. You guys can do, and when we talk about lazy writing, I do feel like that is a very lazy thing to do. It's like, I'm going to wash up. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Where do you think we are? We're not under, like, an all-inclusive here. Yeah. Like, you're, like, just, everybody sit in this fucking circle.
Yeah.
And, take your safeties off your weapons. Yeah. And fucking, we're going to chill here together until the ship comes.
Yeah.
And nobody fucking move, right?
Yeah. Like, they have soldiers there. Like, those guys are the guys that should be saying, like, maybe you should stay here.
Yeah.
You know how we've got aliens running around? We have the guns.
Yeah.
Let's stay here and keep an eye out.
That's right. Exactly.
So, and then
I got some dirt on my hands, so I got to wash my hands.
And then David,
away from everyone.
And then David, like, systematically starts bringing him through more rooms that are way more suspect than even him bonding with the friggin' alien. It's like, this guy is out of his mind, let's shoot him. Then he brings him to the lair where the face hugger is. And at this point, my brain went, all right, fuck it. Who cares? At this point, this guy deserves a fucking face hugger on his face. Like, at that, he should have shot him in the face so many times.
Yeah.
And that would have been the end of it. But anyways, again, dumb characters allowing dumb things to happen when they are supposed to be qualified to a certain point and not doing it. So at that point, it's somewhat comedic.
So when she goes to wash up, even his reason, he's like, "Oh, have you seen her? Oh, I'm gonna go look for her." Yeah. I'm like, what am I like? I'm literally watching an early '80s like poorly written slasher film right now. Like, come on, we can do better than this.
Absolutely.
I don't think that there are fundamental problems in this, and like they're not. That's not fundamental. It doesn't ruin my enjoyment, but I really am like,
come on, guys.
Come on. Yeah. Like, somebody's reading this script or watching this. It's like, guys, even if you just write something a little more, give it a little more explanation.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. It was very lazy. So yes, you're right. He's like leading him through this like little fun house that is getting
his murder domicile or whatever.
He's like getting progressively like more suspect and sketchy, and he takes a peek just like John Hurt. He sticks his head in that fucking egg, basically. His face gets hugged
very, very
tightly. Yeah. So now David's like really happy with himself, and he goes, and I can't remember the exact sequence of events here, but there is another conversation with Walter.
Yeah,
this is when he like it's not a flute. I think he just like deactivates him really quickly.
I thought he stabbed him with the flute, in a deactivating location.
Oh, something like that.
Yeah, maybe. But it was exactly that. But those models don't have that.
Yeah, so basically, like Walter's able to turn himself back on. But when that happens, the look on Walter's face was really like disconcerting. Isn't he like this? He's like,
yeah,
he's like.
Yeah.
He's got this like open mouth, jaws out, his eyes are rolled into the back of his head. I'm like, ooh.
Which even then, weird. Also, like, how did Walter's an android, so sure, maybe he's a little bit more naive, but even still, like, there's a lot of red flags in those conversations.
Like, now you're pushing it.
Well, I know that's why I'm not harping on this one too much, but I'm thinking even Walter, like, at a couple points, he's like, why does he want me to finger his flute?
You know what? Like, androids are just weird and kinky, and you know what? They're just very trusting.
I guess.
Put it that way.
Yeah, so that's why I'm not going to harp on that one very much.
So he just deactivates him and goes after what's the main character's name again?
Not Hope. What's her name? It's
I cannot remember her name, but
I do. Daniels.
You actually find out that Noomi Rapace's character and him, he has this crazy like speech about how he fell in love with her.
Yeah.
And she died in the crash. And they have this great flashback back to where he drops the goo drops on the engineers. And then you find out that he dropped it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And why does the goo disintegrate or like the engineers and doesn't do anything to them?
I don't know.
The goo seems to have properties that are basically just tailored for whatever story they're trying to tell.
That's exactly it. Back to lazy writing.
Yeah, it's a little bit of lazy writing, a little inconsistent. What I did like, though, was that on the engineering world, you can actually see the different types of engineers. It's like almost like a class system.
Yeah.
Like, you could see, like, some of the engineers that were a part of that ship, like, in Prometheus, those are, like, the highest class. And then you have, like, the plebs and, like, the other, like, engineers that are less poorly dressed, less kempt.
Yeah.
Right? So there's actually a big society. They're not all, like, these... not all of the engineers are like these like scientists, like these god scientist people. Like these are obviously the pinnacle of their race.
Yes.
So very cool. I thought that was very neat, and they managed to convey that without having to say it. So I think it's like really really well done. And that scene was fucking crazy where they dropped the thing, and it looks amazing, and it's got that whole volcanic like aftermath with the ashy bodies and stuff, like really nicely done.
Yep.
Again, I have no idea why it does that to them and doesn't turn them into crazy monsters or, like aliens and stuff. But, so you get that flashback, but then you realize that he killed her. He killed Noomi Rapace after she repaired him, and she was experimenting on her.
Yes.
I don't know if he killed her. I think that she was alive for a lot of it, and he experimented on her, and that's how he created. He needs more organic matter.
Yeah, so he was like a kid in a candy shop when all of a sudden these humans drop.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, exactly. And then he finds out that the Covenant has
even more
1,000 colonists, and I think this is all like it gets under my skin. Just the thought of like crazy homicidal David, like on a ship like that, toward the end, but. So he needs these guys, so he lures them in. This whole plan was to lure them in, and he goes after Daniels and says, I'm going to do exactly to you what I did to, Numi Rapace's character. So, and then Walter intervenes, and they have this crazy fucking android fight, which I thought was amazing. I thought it was really good.
It was good, but it also led to the worst switcheroo in cinematic history.
I wouldn't call it the worst.
I will call it the most fucking obvious off the get-go.
100%. I agree with it that it was obvious. I do not think the intention was to have the audience think at any point that wasn't David coming back to the ship.
No,
I think that they 100% knew that. It's all about the suspense of when he's going to play his card, and he doesn't, which is crazy. I'm like, with the alien, when they're like toward the end of the film where he's actually helping them, I'm like, when is he going to start fucking with them? And he doesn't, because he knows that he has way more to gain. This one alien is one alien, but I've got 1,000 fucking meat pies in there. I can do whatever the hell I want with. Let's put these guys to bed, like literally.
Yeah,
and then let me go play.
Here's the problem with that, right? Is to me, it's so damn obvious. The entire audience knows it from the get-go, yet the characters don't. How would they know? Well, they would know because, like I said, right off the bat, he goes and changes his appearance so he can look exactly like David. Or sorry, like exactly like Walter. And you know that he's evil because Walter was just trying to fight him off. Yeah. It doesn't give them any kind of ideas to, maybe we should validate that this is that guy.
Right.
Well, but he has his arm's gone or his hand's gone. It's got to be the same one. No, he can chop his arm off too. Right? Like, there was no, again, it's just stupidity, just general stupidity. Like, validate that. You know that this character is evil, and you know he looks exactly like another character you're bringing on the ship with you.
Yeah.
You should probably double check.
They didn't watch a lot of movies.
Well, I don't know. I would think it would be common sense. But, like, for me, I think it's a problem when the audience is so far ahead of what's happening to the characters in the film in a suspenseful film like this.
Sure.
It's suspense. You should not know as an audience member what's happening.
I think that
you should learn things at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, it was blatantly obvious from the get-go. And I thought that was like, the whole time I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, and I'm not even really paying attention at that point.
I don't know. I think I disagree with you there, because I think that the point of it wasn't that the audience shouldn't know. The audience knows. The suspense comes from when is he going to play his card. And that's what I was waiting for. And he doesn't play his card, which I thought was interesting. And then you realize later that he didn't do it because he has so much more to gain. Right? You're not really thinking of that as an audience member.
That's true.
Because like in that moment, you're thinking of he wants this alien to live. Yeah. Because he had that relationship with the neomorph, and he was so angry when the neomorph was killed.
Yeah.
He's like, he's going to do something to preserve the xenomorph's life.
Yeah.
And you're waiting to see what that is, and he doesn't do anything. And you're like, what the hell? And then you realize, like, holy shit, like, he's just going to create 1,000 new ones, right? Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I think these characters are not the sharpest tools in the shed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, given the situation, who's the only one that knows it is Daniels.
Knows what?
Like, knows everything that happened here. It was just Daniels, right? Because she's the only one left at that point. Oh, but the two soldiers come. Oh, so sorry, we skipped ahead. The xenomorph is born.
Yeah.
Pops out of Billy Crudup. And why? I don't get this, but they totally just tossed out a lot of the alien life cycle stuff.
Yeah,
they'd held for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like all like that alien life cycle was concrete and well thought out.
Yeah.
Alien vs. Predator was the first time where it's like, oh, you can get a facehugger on your face and things are born in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, they came pretty fast there.
The first 4 films, it was like hours at least, if not a day, right? A day of like incubation, and then like an hour, or like hours after you wake up, right? So this is like a day and a half cycle at least. This is kind of what it seems like. Obviously, there's no actual stopwatch in the movie, but here they do the same thing. Yeah, but they do 2 weird things. They do the one with Billy Crudup, and he gets like the alien is born in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the crazy
thing, 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then the crazy arms
up.
Right?
I actually wrote that down when I was writing my notes. I wrote it down as arms up, baby, arms up. Oh no, hands up, baby, hands up.
Hands up.
Hello. Like, it was just super weird.
Yeah, it was super weird. They pushed the melodrama there like really far, but I don't think they broke it. I think it was a risky move. I kind of liked it because it was so operatic. Again, it's that more of that Prometheus stuff, like that operatic side. It was a little cheesy though. And then this thing grows to full size in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was
that takes days for sure. Like I think it's supposed to take days. Like on that ship,
at least hours.
Like Alien
at
1,
at least a lot of hours. Like I don't know how many it could have been, but it took time. Yeah,
basically. And this thing was fully grown. Like you could watch like an episode of Family Guy, and this thing would be fully grown.
Yeah.
Like it was, and I was like, I don't know. And then it attacks the two soldiers. One of them gets the acid on their face. One of them gets attacked by a face hugger and like holds the face hugger back. It gets on his face, and then he pulls it off and they kill it. And then they do it again.
Yeah.
But like the face hugger was barely touching his face.
Yeah.
Like when it was out here, what did it do? Like shoot an egg into his mouth?
Yeah.
Like projectile eggs? Like why even have the face hugger at all?
Yeah, exactly.
You should just have an alien with a fucking face hugger gun just shooting eggs into people's mouths as they come by.
Say hello to my little friend.
Right? That kind of upset me because I was like, what are we doing here? This thing barely had any time on his face.
Yeah.
It was meticulous planning in the first 4 films. Obviously, in the first one, where like it's got to incubate. It's an organism. It's not a robot. This isn't software. It's not like on or off. It's like it's got to have time to do what it's going to do. It would have been better if the alien that was born from the soldier that barely had any incubation time was kind of like dysfunctional.
Yeah,
I thought that would have been a good idea. Like come out, it's kind of like malformed a little bit, like something like that, some sort of defect. Yeah. But no, it's fully functioning killing machine.
Yeah.
And again, it comes out and grows to full height in like 7 minutes. Yeah. And, it's on a rampage again. And I was just like, why are we twisting this? We're really twisting this mythology. And I remember how upset people were in AVP when they sped everything up.
Yeah, exactly.
And now...
Learn from your mistakes, guys.
Yeah, and I was just like, now that seems to be the norm, which kind of sucks. I was like... So that's that. The other thing I wanted to mention here was the big reveal in the movie. David created the xenomorphs.
Yeah.
This is the big answer.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I was thinking to myself, is there any way I'm not gonna be underwhelmed by the origin of the xenomorph?
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually proven wrong. I really liked the poetic reason behind all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Our humans' synthetic creation, obsessed is more human than human, obsessed with creation himself, creates the perfect organism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's great. I'm like, that's the only way it could have worked. Any other more convoluted like origin wouldn't have worked for me. I'd just been like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't care. But this, I don't know. I felt like it was very poetic. It all worked together. What did you think of?
It made sense. They set it up properly there, and it made 100% sense. And it helps when you've got a performance like Fassbender was putting in it. You believe that he believes exactly in every single thing he's doing.
Right.
It did make sense. There was we forgot to mention at the beginning of the film there was that scene with old Wayland.
That's
and
right.
David.
That's right.
It's a genuinely creepy scene.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
I think it was at the very beginning. Right?
Yes. That's where he's playing the piano in the Apple room.
Exactly.
In the Apple store.
Yeah, that's right. It was a generally creepy scene.
Yeah.
And you could see that he was off putting Wayland right off the bat. Like even Wayland was kind of considering like, oh shit, what did I do?
Yeah, that's right.
So it made sense. It was very operatic. I thought it was good. It didn't underwhelm me. I never felt a need to answer that question,
right.
But at the same time, it's not like I'm opposed to it. Like there are people out there like, oh, they shouldn't have done this. Now it takes away the mystery. Shut up. It's fine.
You know what? I wasn't concerned with knowing. Like it would never. The question never interested me. To be honest with you. Like I never really cared where they had come from.
Yeah.
But now with this explanation, I'm like, yes, this is a great. I think it's a very interesting way to go about it, and I feel like it's the only thing like how did I not see it before? I guess is
Yeah.
my question. I'm like, this makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
Given the themes that these movies play with, this is perfect. It fits. It's like music.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Beautiful.
I can't argue that.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the best takeaway from this film is it does answer some questions in very interesting fashions.
Yeah, I was
and fulfilling ones.
Yeah.
Ones that you can walk away from and really have some thought-provoking ideas about it.
Right.
So
So that was basically the origin of the alien, and not disappointed at all. Thought it was great. Creates the perfect organism. Like it's just like
but everything after that was just kind of schlock. No, sorry, not after that. Everything that was after the birth of the xenomorph, and then there was the big claw fight when they came down to rescue them.
I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
Oh, it was cool, yeah. But like, I don't know what there is to say about that. You know
the
what I mean?
action scene? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it was good. But it was kind of interesting seeing like the big claw battle. Like to me, when what's
oh, you mean the metallic claw?
The metallic claw.
You're talking about.
Yeah. When he came down
with the crane.
The crane. To me, all I could think of was like the claw game when you're at like Dave and Buster's and trying to grab something. The claw, like that kind of thing, right? So I was thinking of that, but I mean, it was an entertaining kind of little thing, and crushed the shit out of him.
Yeah, fucked him up. Yeah. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
But then it was just kind of the run of the, maybe not a little better than run of the mill action scene. Then they get onto the ship, and then there's the xenomorph on there, and then they had to. How did they get rid of the xenomorph on the ship?
They sucked it out of an airlock because you always have to have one of those.
Oh yeah.
So like. And it is a pretty tense scene because you start seeing the xenomorph really move around.
Yeah.
Like, really, really fast. And this is what we were talking about before, where this xenomorph CG is, like, hyper-kinetic. And it's jumping around all over the place, attacking things, moving really, really fast, very, very deadly. And I was a little underwhelmed with that chase scene.
Yeah.
Because it's a little too fucking convoluted. I'm like, what?
Convoluted? And
get him into the space truck,
yeah.
Lock him in the space truck, and then shoot the space truck into space. It's like, what are we doing here? This is weird, right?
We've seen it all before.
Yeah.
Like to me, it wasn't offering any new ideas. It was much less interesting to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't know if we want to spend a lot of time on that, but but then it gets into that the reveal that David is Walter, Walter is David, and like I said. You do bring up an interesting point that the reveal of that isn't as important as the fact that his plan was there, because I wasn't considering that he's like, okay, now I've got all these meat pies to play with, right?
I just like because you went like as an audience member, and it doesn't play like this for everyone.
Yeah.
But I was so convinced, obviously, like I was so convinced I had this thing figured out. You know, like this movie had nothing left to surprise me with. I'm like, oh, he's gonna like ensure the alien survival. He's gonna reveal himself and like whatever. And when he doesn't do it, I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, oh. You know, like at the end, you get to that realization where he's basically got like a giant petri dish.
Yeah.
And he can just fucking do all of the insane homicidal things that he wants to do. And he's so creepy. And just the thought of having, like, being at his whim, like just like that thought just creeped me right the hell out. He's walking by, like at the end, he's like
got the music playing.
He's got the music playing,
regurgitating hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah. Oh fuck, that was so random. Yeah, like the alien embryos, putting them in the thing, but he's walking by all the pods, reading the names, and like
he might as well have been skipping.
Yeah, and nobody can do anything.
No,
he's got all the time in the universe.
Yeah.
And he's going to play, and he's going to make it last.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm like, oh, that is just so creepy. And it's a great way to end the movie. And the reveal I thought was really well done, too, when he's like, are you going to help me build my cottage by the river?
Yeah.
And he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, you know that. He's like, oh, and then she realizes it's not that reaction just before like the gas or whatever goes in the thing. I was like, oh my god,
it's
you're
genuine.
Fucking terrified.
Like, you would be that scared if you weren't that fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going back into that.
Can you imagine her reaction was, oh my god, David. Oh, you know what? I should have known that.
The writing was kind of on the wall there. Who changes their hair to blonde?
Yeah, brown. Went from blonde to brown.
Did he? Oh yeah, you're right. Yes,
or black or whatever. It's a darker color.
It was a darker color, yeah. But in any case, you know, the writing should have been on the wall on that one.
Yeah,
but whatever. I've harped on that already. I'm not going to go back into my tirade.
Yeah,
but I'm glad I like having this conversation because and this is why. So we is there anything you want to say about the movie right now anymore?
No, just the fact that Buddy lives Tennessee. I can't remember his name.
Well, let's face it. He lived, but he's.
Well, I mean,
at this point,
there's going to be 1,002 casualties on that ship, or like 1,000 casualties on that ship after. But he lives at the end of.
I was happy to see that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And the other quick thing, the couple having sex immediately after this entire disaster happens
in the shower.
In the shower, yeah. A lot of people, I think, were kind of up in arms, just like random. It was like a random.
It was
scene.
random.
But you know what? I feel like a lot of people cope with like disaster, like and with tragedy, and they do that, right? Like people have sex, like that's like a thing that they do to it's a coping strategy. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm kind of like, it kind of works. It is. It's a little hokey, but but there's no ramp up.
No, there isn't.
They're like, oh my god, everybody's dead. People got decapitated and they're aliens and there's organism, like this aggressive organism, and it's just awful. They're all dead, and next shot is them banging in the shower. It's like I feel like there was a missing at least 10-15 second scene where maybe he's really depressed about the whole thing, and she comes in and they start making out or whatever, and then it kind of
you played this out in your head a little bit too much.
Well, I'm just it was just so shocking. It just from one this disaster, this tragedy, and then suddenly it's just it's banging time.
Yeah, I don't even think they went through the front entrance of the ship. They went through the back shower entrance. They're just let's go through this way.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and then they had again with this sort of erotic undertones of the alien, the tail
going up,
and they had the tail in Alien 1, and it was what's her name, Lambert,
yeah,
who dies in a similar fashion, and again it's all these real psychosexual biomechanical nightmare this thing is, right? Yeah. So it plays into that, but I think that literally that scene was purely for shock value.
Yeah.
I think Ridley's better than that. I think that was a little much.
Yeah.
So.
No, I was excited to do this podcast because, we're running pretty long at this point. But in any case, basically, I was excited to do this because we were at a beer fest yesterday that led to a bar after, and you were talking about it with and we were we started off the conversation of being we don't want to talk about this. We're going to do a podcast about this at some point, right?
Right.
And I didn't know how strongly you felt about the film until I started hearing you talk about it, and then I was because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't like. I wasn't a fan, and. There was so much praise being thrown. I was just sitting there. I'm everybody's stupid. Nobody's dumb. Everybody, and just started spouting off. Yeah. So I was and then I woke up this morning yo, we need to podcast this now.
We need to talk about it
because I think this is. I don't know. Like I said, this is long, but at the same time, I think this is a more interesting podcast because we have those polarizing views, and I think we're gonna have this conversation. It's gonna be an interesting one for Prometheus as well.
Yeah.
More fun for 4 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
3 is going to be interesting because you've got really strong feelings.
Yeah, no, I do. 3 is one that plays pretty closely to me because it's the first of the franchise that I saw as a kid. So I have some fond memories of that movie. That movie shares a lot in common in terms of tone.
Yeah,
with Covenant.
With Covenant,
because they're both
absolutely agree.
Extremely bleak.
Yeah.
Films where a lot of folks die horrible deaths and there is no God and you mean very little.
Yeah. And then 2 and 1 are going to be circle jerk time. So.
Yeah.
But this has been Alien Covenant, guys. Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. I think we got it all out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to go change into
fashion.
Change into my jammies, maybe play the flute, do some fingering.
Good Lord. I'm going to leave. Thanks a lot, guys, for listening. This has been Justin.
This is Atul.
And have a good rest of your time today. we gotta figure out a way to sign off on these things better. Guys, thanks for listening. Have a good one. Cheers.
See you next time.
Bye.
That was fucking brutal. Have a good rest of your day.
Oh, God.
It's a good to say rest of your day because, you know what? There's always a day left over. There's always a good thing to fall back on. Because you're always gonna have a day left.